Good day. This presentation introduces a comprehensive methodological framework designed to strengthen research integrity in maritime safety and security studies, particularly within the Philippine Coast Guard operational context. It emphasizes that research as alignment is not a stylistic preference, but a structural requirement. The central thesis of these lectures, second lecture this morning, is clear. When the statement of the problem and the review of related literature are thematically aligned, the study becomes defensible, measurable or describable, and operationally actionable. For PCG students, this framework is especially critical. Operational studies often influence resource allocation, readiness posture, doctrine refinement, and mission execution. A misaligned research structure where questions, literature, and indicators do not logically connect results in recommendations that leadership cannot reliably implement. Thus, this second presentation, after the discussion and review of related literature, builds what is called a research spine, a sequential logic chain from general statement to indicators. Across the opening slides in the presentations you would see next, we establish the foundations of this spine. It clarifies what alignment means, why it is non-negotiable, and how thematic discipline transforms the RRL from a narrative summary into a functional support system for operational questions. The first slides introduce the conceptual architecture that governs all succeeding sections. Because I'm pre-recording here in the seminary, I do not have a very good bandwidth. And for that matter, I will ask permission that I actually turn off my camera and as usual, that you pay attention at what is being said. I will eventually love to hear your questions about this matter when the time comes, and I hope you just take note of them. Thank you very much. I've closed my camera now and hope that the presentation is clearly visible from your end. So the opening slide presents the title and defines the presentation as a comprehensive methodological framework for MSS operational research. It situates the framework within the PCG twinning program and emphasizes research integrity from general statement to actionable recommendations. This framing immediately signals that the presentation is not theoretical. It is designed for operational application within maritime institutions. The phrase thematic alignment is central. It implies that each research component must correspond to a defined construct rather than loosely addressing a topic area. In a PCG context, this could mean ensuring that the study on search and rescue performance does not merely discuss maritime safety broadly, but instead specifies measurable constructs such as response time, coordination efficiency, or rescue success rates. The subtitle underscores the movement from abstraction to execution. For example, if a PCG district is evaluating maritime domain awareness capability, leadership requires more than descriptive narratives. They need indicators, surveillance coverage percentage, detection to response time, or data fusion accuracy. The framework promises to guide researchers from high-level statements down to such measurable outputs. We also implicitly defines the audience. MSS researchers, PCG officers, and thesis writers whose work must withstand panel review and operational scrutiny. The emphasis on actionable recommendations reinforces that this framework aims to produce research outputs that influence maritime operations across the Philippine archipelago. So, this opening establishes the purpose of the entire second lecture to institutionalize rigor in PCG research design and prepares you to understand alignment not as a formatting discipline but as a mission critical architecture. Let's look at the roadmap of this presentation. So we outlined the complete architecture of the framework. It presents 6 structured components: research spine, general statement, SOP doctrine, RRL doctrine, operationalization, and application and quality control. This roadmap visually and conceptually communicates that the framework builds sequentially, with each layer reinforcing the previous one. The roadmap sequencing mirrors operational logic in PCG missions. Just as maritime operations follow intelligence gathering, planning, execution, and assessment, this framework follows general statement formation, SOP structuring, literature alignment, and indicator operationalization. The order is deliberate. Skipping stages compromises coherence, just as skipping intelligence preparation would undermine a coastal security patrol plan. Each section serves a specific function. The research spine establishes alignment logic. The general statement ensures clarity of purpose. SOP doctrine governs question sequencing. RRL doctrine ensures thematic organization. Operationalization translates constructs into measurable indicators. And finally, application and quality control ensures structural integrity before writing begins. This stage approach prevents premature drafting, a common pitfall in thesis development. For example, a PCG officer studying interagency interoperability must first define the general problem, like coordination inefficiencies in joint maritime patrols, then structures the SOP properly, like baseline, gaps, and improvements, and only afterwards organize literature around those constructs. Without this roadmap, researchers tend to write literature chapters chronologically, losing thematic focus. The roadmap slide, therefore, acts as both navigation tool and warning. Alignment is cumulative. Each latter section depends on the structural discipline established in earlier ones. It prepares the audience for the deeper methodological content that would follow. Let's look at the first chapter, which is the research spine for MSS studies. We introduce the research spine. The metaphor of a spine is deliberate, gulugod in Filipino. Just as the human spine supports and connects all major bodily systems, the research spine links every element of a study, from general statement to recommendations. In the PCG operational environment, fragmentation is dangerous. A study on maritime communications reliability, for instance, cannot introduce constructs in its SOP that are absent in its RRL. If the research question asks about radio communications uptime during joint operations, but the literature review only discusses general maritime communication theory, the spine is broken. The study becomes structurally unstable. We need to signal that alignment is not about writing style, but structural coherence. Each research element must connect sequentially. General statement, SOPs, RRL themes, constructs, dimensions, indicators, evidence, methods. If any one link is missing, the integrity of the study collapses. This concept is especially important for operational agencies like the Coast Guard, where leadership decisions, procurement, training reforms, doctrine updates may depend on research outputs. A broken research spine produces recommendations that cannot be traced back to measurable evidence or describable ones, making them unreliable for policy adoption. Thus, marks the transition from overview to doctrine. It introduces the governing logic that the subsequent slides will define in detail. The alignment chain is sequential, structural, and even non-negotiable. Let's look at the non-negotiable alignment chain. I'm sorry that the pictures of these presentations are all of a sudden not available. So we formally define that alignment chain as the complete research spine that must be preserved in operational research. It states unequivocally that this is not a formatting preference, but the fundamental architecture that makes a study executable and even defensible. We need to warn that if a construct appears in the statement of the problem, but is absent in the RRL, or if a theme appears in the RRL without corresponding to an SOP or specific statement of the problem construct, the study loses its logical foundation. In practical PCG terms, imagine an SOP asking about cybersecurity readiness of maritime communication systems, but the RRL only discusses general cybersecurity frameworks unrelated to maritime systems. That disconnect invalidates the analytical chain. This alignment chain ensures traceability. Every construct introduced must be supported by literature and translated into measurable indicators. For instance, if studying SAR performance in PCG District Southern Tagalog, the alignment chain would require that response speed, coordination quality, and outcome measures appear in the literature review before being operationalized in the methodology. We need to emphasize that alignment is a design discipline. That phrase is crucial. It implies that researchers must engineer their studies before drafting prose. Design precedes writing. In operational doctrine, planning precedes deployment. Similarly, alignment precedes drafting. By defining alignment as non-negotiable, we establish the governing principle that shapes the rest of the presentation. The next slide deepens this by explaining the consequences of failing to preserve that chain. So what happened when alignment fails? So the consequences of misalignment is labeled as fatal. It identifies three major period failure types: ungrounded study, purposeless literature, and unmeasurable claims. An ungrounded study occurs when SOP constructs lack RRL support. For example, if a study evaluates drone integration effectiveness in PCG maritime operations, but failed to review existing models of UAS integration in maritime surveillance, reviewers will flag the absence of theoretical grounding. The research appears speculative rather than evidence based. Purposeless literature happens when RRL themes do not map to SOP constructs. In this case, the literature chapter may appear comprehensive but lacks analytical direction. For instance, reviewing ASEAN maritime agreements in detail without tying them to a specific SOP on operational coordination produces impressive scholarship but no functional support for the research question. Unmeasurable claims represent the most operationally dangerous failure. Constructs without indicators cannot be analyzed. If a study claims to assess readiness but provides no measurable dimensions in the long run, such as equipment availability, personnel certification rates, or mission response times, it produces aspirational conclusions rather than actionable intelligence. For PCG leadership, such failures have real consequences. Recommendations not tied to measurable evidence cannot justify budget allocations or doctrinal reforms. Thus, misalignment is not merely academic weakness, it undermines operational decision making. This slide completes the foundational warning phase of the presentation. Having shown what alignment is and why its absence is fatal, the next is to transition into defining a critical concept: what a theme truly means in MSS operational research. So you've heard me talk about themes, but what does a theme means in MSS operational research? We need to clarify a critical concept: what a theme truly means in maritime safety and security research. The presentation warns against treating themes as a broad topic label or labels such as maritime security, training, and interoperability. In MSS operational research, a theme is not a subject area, it is a construct, aligned analytical container directly corresponding to one SOP construct at a time. We define 6 mandatory elements that transform a theme into a functional research component: definition, theory, evidence, indicators, gaps, and linked sentence. Without these components, the RRL becomes descriptive rather than analytic. For example, if a PCG study defines search and rescue performance, the theme must define SAR performance in operational terms, that is, response time, coordination, and rescue outcomes. Cite theoretical models such as incident command systems, emergency response frameworks, present empirical findings, identify measurement indicators, specify known gaps, and conclude with a linked sentence tying it to the SOP. This discipline structure ensures that literature supports the research question rather than merely summarizing scholarship. Consider a study on interagency interoperability in joint PCGPN operations. A properly structured theme would define interoperability as doctrine compatibility, communications, and joint procedures. Review coordination theory. Summarize empirical findings from maritime coalition operations. Identify measurement approaches such as joint exercise frequency, communication failure rates, and highlight known weaknesses while at the same time explicitly stating how it supports the relevant SOP. The slide emphasizes that this transformation from topic to structured theme is what turns Chapter 2 into an operational support system. Without these, the RRL cannot justify indicators, and without justified indicators, the study cannot produce measurable findings. We mark, therefore, the shift from understanding alignment conceptually to implementing it structurally within the RRL. Let's look at the general statement blueprint for these masters. So we need to focus on constructing a valid general statement. The general statement of the problem is described as the foundation of the entire study, the architectural starting point of the research spine. In the PCG context, the general statement cannot be vague. It must precisely identify who is being studied, where the study is situated, what capability is being examined, and why the issue matters operationally. For example, instead of stating this study examines maritime communications, a valid general statement would specify, although PCG District NCR must ensure reliable maritime communications during joint operations, there is insufficient evidence on communications uptime and protocol failure rates limiting operational readiness. This signals that rigor begins here. If the general statement lacks clarity, every subsequent component, specific statements of the problem, RRL, themes, and indicators will inherit that ambiguity. Operationally, this would resemble launching a maritime patrol without clearly defining mission objectives. This blueprint approach is especially important for thesis writers within the Philippine Coast Guard, where proposals undergo panel review. A structurally engineered general statement prevents downstream alignment problems. It ensures that the study remains bounded, measurable, and directly relevant to maritime operations. That's the reason why we need to transition the framework from alignment theory to concrete drafting guidance. So what are the components required for a general statement? There are 6 mandatory components of a valid general statement: population, setting, focus, evidence gap, and consequence boundaries. Each component prevents specific structural awareness or weakness. Prevents the population must specify the exact PCG unit, role, or rank set. For instance, CG2 intelligence officers in District Southern Mindanao is precise, while PCG personnel is not. Ambiguity at this stage leads to sampling confusion later. That's for population. The setting defines district, station, mission type, and whether the study is operational or training-based. A study of SAR performance or search and rescue performance during typhoon response differs significantly from routine patrol search and rescue readiness. Context determines relevance. The focus also identifies the capability or outcome under investigation, such as maritime domain awareness capability, drone system integration, or cybersecurity readiness. This will prevent topic drift. Take note that the focus is also the key concept of the study, which we shall speak about and which we shall divide in terms of dimensions laterwards or afterwards. The evidence gap articulates what is insufficiently measured or documented. For example, uh, while PCG may conduct regular coastal patrols, there may be no consolidated evidence on patrol deterrence effectiveness across districts. The consequence also states operational impact, degraded readiness, inefficient resource allocation, or policy misalignment. These anchors the study in mission relevance. Finally, and the sixth, boundaries define time frame, geographic scope, and mission limits. Without boundaries, the study becomes unmanageable. Together, these six components transform the general statement into a precise operational blueprint. To help you, let's provide you with an adapted template that is actually ready to use. We provide a structured template designed to enforce rigor. These are not stylistic suggestions, they are structural scaffolds that automatically incorporate the six required components. Let's look at template A, which basically speaks of a gap plus consequence. Although blank is required for blank in setting, there is insufficient evidence on gap which limits operational consequence. This template, and it's a template you copy and paste, works well when a measurable deficiency is evident. Let's provide an example. Although coastal security patrol effectiveness is required for deterrence in Western Mindanao maritime corridors, there is insufficient evidence on patrol coverage consistency, which limits deterrence strategy optimization. Let's look at the next template, uh, which we actually called template C. And template C follows this pattern. Improvement of capability or of outcome depends on evidence about factor 1 and factor 2. Absent such evidence, improvement effort cannot be targeted effectively. These templates suits performance improvement studies. For example, improving SOAR response effectiveness may depend on communication reliability and vessel deployment readiness. These templates prevent the general statement from becoming a mere topic declaration. They force inclusion of mission relevance and measurable gaps, two elements essential for operational studies in the Philippine Coast Guard. By institutionalizing template use, the framework reduces structural errors before drafting actually begins. So the general statement of the problem also serves as the thesis statement, and as such is actually the heart of the entire paper. And let me reiterate that, the heart of the entire paper. Let's look at the SOP doctrine, which is the state-specific statements of the problem. This is shifting the focus to SOP doctrines, uh, and would like to look at that immediately. No? If the general statement of the problem is the foundation, the specific statements of the problem or SOP set forms the structural beams of the research spine. The doctrine emphasizes that SOPs, or specific statements of the problem, are not independent questions. They are a system designed to collectively answer the general statement of the problem. So the general statement of the problem is, or must be, so general that it cannot constitute any of the specific questions, except if the general statement is question number 3. And that's basically because if it's question number 1, it will render question number 2 and 3 moot and academic, or if it's question number 2, it will render question number 3 moot and academic, right? So it has to be either like problem statement number 3, or one that will encompass problem 1, 2, and 3. So the doctrine emphasizes that the statement of the problem are not independent questions. And I will reiterate that. The 3 specific questions must be interrelated with each other, not separate questions where I can answer problem number 2 without answering problem number 1, or answer problem number 3 without answering problem number 1 and 2, or answer problem number 3 by simply relying on problem number 1 and not using problem number 2. They are system designed to collectively answer the general statement. So in operational research, the SOP set follows a fixed sequence. There is the baseline, gaps, and improvements, or prescription. Baseline, describe; gaps, evaluate; improvement, prescribe. This sequencing of the 3 statements of the problem, yes, only 3, mirrors operational problem solving within the PCG. For instance, if examining maritime domain awareness capability, SOP1 would actually say, SOP1 would establish the baseline. So what is the level of MDA capability? Sometimes you'd say what is the current, but we don't actually use the word current because the study is actually dated. You want to know when the study was being written, which is the current level, you just check the date. SOP2 identifies gaps relative to standards, or evaluate what deficiencies exist compared to required surveillance benchmarks. By the way, in the SOP1 that I said a while ago, what is the level of MDA capability? I also need to identify in terms of. That is often the one that's missing. I have to identify the dimensions. Okay? And then SOP3 proposes targeted improvements, like what interventions are needed to improve identified deficiencies. This doctrine prevents premature solution seeking. In maritime operations, commanders first assess the situation, diagnose weaknesses, then implement corrective action. Research technically follows the same logic. So we signal the next phase of the framework that will govern how SOPs are structured, sequenced, and linguistically framed. If transitions from constructing the general statement to engineering the 3 question spine that resolves it. So let's look at the principle that we use in governing this one. And the principle is simple. The whole equal the sum of its parts. We need to establish the integrity rule governing the statement of the problem set, which is the general statement and the specific statements. The central principle is uncompromising. The specific statements of the problem must collectively and completely answer the general statement. No gaps, no excess, no unrelated questions. The SOP set is not a list of loosely related inquiries. It is a tightly engineered system. We need to emphasize also the bidirectional traceability. What do we mean by that? Every claim in the general statement of the problem must map to at least one SOP, and every state SOP or every question must trace back to the general statement of the problem. So if an SOP specific problem addresses something not stated in the general statement, the study is structurally inconsistent. Either the SOP must be revised or the general statement must be expanded. For example, if the general statement identifies a gap in maritime communications reliability during joint operations, the SOP cannot suddenly introduce personnel morale unless morale was explicitly part of the identified capability gap. Such drift weakens structural coherence and invites panel criticism. We need to provide a self-check question that functions as diagnostic tools. Does each statement of the problem address a distinct part of the general statement? Are any aspects of the general statement left unaddressed? And if all SOPs are answered, is the general statement fully resolved? In the PCG operational environment, this mirrors mission planning. If a patrol mission objective is to ensure coastal deterrence and SAR readiness, but patrol tasks fail to cover one objective, the mission plan is incomplete. Similarly, incomplete SOP coverage results in incomplete research resolution. We need to reinforce that alignment begins at the structural level of research questions. So let's introduce the mandatory sequencing of the statement of the problem. So we introduce one of the most critical doctrines in the framework, mandatory sequencing. And we're talking about specific statements of the problem here. MSS research must follow a fixed three-step sequence. So you need to understand this one because three, if you we will only tolerate up to four statement of the problem, and the fourth statement of the problem is only allowed if you're doing a correlation. If you're not doing a correlation, then it's not allowed. So MSS research must follow a fixed three-step sequence. Descriptive baseline, SOP2, evaluation of gaps and constraints, and SOP3, improvement or intervention. The only exemption to this policy is if you're going to implement a correlation study. In that case, SOP1 and SOP2 will be a descriptive baseline. SOP3, which is the correlation, will be the evaluation of the relationship, and SOP4 will be improvement intervention or improvement or intervention. This order is not arbitrary. It mirrors operational logic. In Philippine Coast Guard practice, commanders first establish the current situation, then identify deficiencies that is relative to standards, and only then propose corrective measures in the long run. SOP1 must answer what exists. So it describes levels, status, extent, or patterns, which means SOP1 must ask graded questions, not simply yes or no questions. For instance, what is the level of maritime domain awareness capability among CG2 personnel and district NCR in terms of, where the in terms of will refer to the dimensions of the concept maritime domain awareness. SOP2 asks what is wrong or missing. It evaluates performance against a benchmark. For example, what gaps exist between surveillance coverage and NAVSAVCOM standards. Or SOP3 asks what should be done. It proposes targeted interventions directly tied to SOP2 findings. So the slide strictly prohibits beginning SOP1 with how or why, or in what ways, or through what process. Those verbs imply causation or mechanism, analytical territory reserved for latter stages, not a specific problem number one. So for PCG researchers, this sequencing prevents premature reform proposals. You cannot recommend upgrading surveillance system without first measuring current capability and identifying measurable deficiencies. So we need to codify the structural logic that protects analytical credibility. So you might be asking at this point, why is this sequence non-negotiable? Um, the consequences of violating the movement where SOP1 is the baseline, SOP2 is the evaluate or gaps, and SOP3 is improvement sequence is made explicit in this slide. Skipping directly to improvement questions without establishing baseline and gaps diagnosis results in three fatal weaknesses: untargeted recommendations, unverifiable claims, unreliable solutions. Untargeted recommendations occur when reforms are not linked to demonstrated deficiencies. For example, proposing joint interoperability training programs without proving that interoperability deficiencies exist wastes resources. Or unverifiable claims arise when no baseline exists. If no measurement of SAR response time has been conducted, how can improvements be assessed? Or unreliable solutions address assumed rather than demonstrated problems. In the PCG context, this is operationally dangerous. Resource allocation decisions, vessel procurement, drone acquisition, communications upgrades must be evidence driven. So we underscore that leadership cannot rely on research that lacks diagnostic grounding. A study that skips baseline assessment resembles conducting a maritime security operation without situational awareness. Thus, sequencing is not merely methodological discipline, it safeguards operational relevance. Let's look at the SOP language bank, no? To show to you descriptive stems for SOP1. So we provide approved language stems for crafting specific statements of the problem one. These stems enforce descriptive discipline and prevents causal drift. Approved descriptive stems include what is the level or status of capability or system among population in setting in terms of, please always put the dimensions in terms of. It's not here in this slide, but I'm telling you already. Or to what extent is the standard demonstrated among population in setting blank in terms of, or what patterns are observed regarding outcome in setting during time frame in terms of, and what experiences are reported regarding activity context by population in terms of. These stems ensures that SOP1 remains purely descriptive and that the dimensions are identified. That's why I have added in terms of. It measures and describes what currently exists without diagnosing causes or proposing solutions. For example, in a PCG Coastal Patrol study, what is the level of patrol coverage frequency in CG14 units in Western Mindanao during 2025 in terms of, and then you have to identify dimensions of patrol coverage frequency. This question establishes measurable baseline metrics like number of patrol hours, coverage percentage, incident response frequency, without prematurely asking why coverage is inadequate. The slide also reiterates the critical rule. SOP1 must never begin with how, why, in what ways, or through what process. Such phrasing introduces causal analysis prematurely and breaks sequencing discipline. By institutionalizing language control, the framework prevents structural errors at the drafting stage. Let's look at, again, more language banks for SOP 3 and 2 and SOP 3. So we extend the language bank to SOP 2 and 3, clarifying their distinct role. So, SOP2, evaluation stems focus on gaps, weaknesses, areas for improvements, deficiencies, constraints, and the like. So, we can ask what gaps exist between the requirement and current performance, or what constraints affect capability outcome in setting, or what weaknesses are observed in system or process. Remember, SOP2 must reference a benchmark or standard. Without a reference point, the concept of gap becomes meaningless. For instance, evaluating maritime communications reliability requires comparison to uptime standards or doctrinal expectations. SOP3 is also about improvement stems. For example, interventions, reforms, targeted strategies. For example, we say what interventions address the specific gap identified in SOP2, or what strategies improve capability or outcome, or what program changes strengthen system or process. SOP3 must be traceable in a one-to-one direct relation directly to SOP2. Every proposed intervention should respond to an identified deficiency, not a generic best practice. For example, if SOP2 reveals a high communications protocol failure rate during joint operations, SOP3 might propose standardized cross-agency communication training and equipment upgrades, specifically targeting that failure rate. So we need to complete the SOP. This slide completes the specific statements of the problem doctrine framework. It ensures that question design is structurally aligned, sequentially disciplined, and operationally defensible. Let's move now to the RRL doctrine. What's the review of related literature doctrine? So, we mark the transition from the specific statements of the problem to the RRL. Having established how to structure research questions, the framework now turns to how literature must be engineered to support those questions. Remember, a while ago, we looked at the RRL. Now we looked at the statement of the problem, and now we're back again at the RRL. The key shift here is conceptual. The review of related literature is not a passive summary of sources. It is an active, structured, analytical instrument. In MSS research, particularly within the Philippine Coast Guard context, the RRL must justify constructs, explain indicators, and establish measurable grounding for each statement of the problem. We introduce the discipline required to prevent the most common structural error in maritime thesis writing: chronological narration. Many researchers default to summarizing authors in sequence. Author A said, author B argued. The framework rejects this approach outright. Literature must be organized around constructs that correspond directly to SOP questions. So, for example, if SOP examines maritime domain awareness capability, then the RRL must contain a theme titled Defining and Measuring Maritime Domain Awareness Capability. That theme must provide definition, theory, empirical findings, measurement or describable indicators, and known gaps explicitly tied to the statement of the problem. Therefore, we need to establish the doctrinal rule. Literature exists to serve the research pine. It is not decorative, it is structural. Let's look at the core RRL actions that we already spoke about earlier. There are 5 sequential actions required in constructing an effective RRL. Survey, systematically locate relevant literature. Summarize, extract key findings, methods, and conclusions. Synthesize, organize findings around constructs. Take note, not authors, but constructs or concepts. Interpret, identify patterns, agreements, and disputes. Critique, evaluate methodological rigor, and identity gaps. The slide emphasizes that synthesis is the most critical step. Most critical step. Take note. In MSS research, synthesis means grouping evidence under constructs such as interoperability, SAR performance, MDA capability, or cybersecurity readiness. Never by publication here, or never by author. For example, in a PCG study on search and rescue performance, the researcher must synthesize global SAR response studies, emergency coordination frameworks, and maritime rescue evaluations into thematic categories like response speed, coordination quality, and outcome effectiveness. Interpretation then identifies whether multiple studies confirm certain indicators, such as response time as a key determinant of survival, while critique evaluates limitations, like most studies focus on temperate waters rather than typhoon-prone archipelagic contexts like the Philippines. These 5 steps or 5-step processes transform literature from a descriptive archive into an analytical engine supporting your research. Take note also that we need to emphasize that the organization is not just per author, but also not chronological. This is an absolute rule. The RRL must be organized thematically, following a one-to-one relation with the statement of the problem, not chronologically. Chronological writing fails because it produces a timeline of scholarship rather than an analysis of collective knowledge. A reader may learn who published what and when, but not what is collectively known about a construct or concept. Thematic writing succeeds because it organizes evidence around SOP constructs. This approach reveals one, areas of agreement across studies, areas of disagreement, measurement approaches used in prior research, and known empirical gaps. For example, if an SOP examines interagency interoperability, the RRL theme must analyze interoperability across maritime agencies, including doctrine alignment, communications reliability, and joint procedures, rather than narrating a historical progression of maritime cooperation studies. In the PCG context, this rule ensures that literature directly justifies chosen indicators. If measuring communications reliability, the RRL must show how uptime percentage and protocol failures rates are used in similar maritime contexts. We need to reinforce that theme headings must mirror SOP constructs. If the SOP focuses on maritime security operations effectiveness, then the RRL heading must explicitly state that construct too. This slide cements thematic discipline as a non-negotiable structural elements. Now let's look at the mandatory components of every RRL theme, which means every RRL theme should carry 7 mandatory parts: concept definition, theoretical grounding, empirical evidence, operational indicators, known gaps, dimensions, and link sentence. Each component plays a structural role. The concept definition must be operationally meaningful. For example, maritime domain awareness must be defined in terms relevant to PCG intelligence and surveillance functions. Theoretical grounding situates the constructs within models or frameworks such as systems theory, incident command systems, or interagency coordination models. Empirical evidence synthesizes findings from prior studies. Operational indicators identify how the construct has been measured, that is, detection time, coverage rate, and exercise frequency. Known gaps justify why the present study is necessary. Perhaps prior studies lack data from archipelagic states like the Philippines, and dimensions break the construct into parts like doctrine compatibility, communications, joint procedures for interoperability, and finally, the link sentence, which explicitly connects the theme to its corresponding SOP. For Philippine Coast Guard researchers, omitting any one of these components weakens structural integrity. A theme without indicators cannot support operationalization. A theme without a link sentence breaks traceability. This slide formalizes what constitutes a complete RRL theme. Now, let's transition a little bit to operationalization and talk about concept, dimension, indicator, alignment. This is operationalization, which is really the bridge between literature and methodology, and therefore a foretaste of what will happen in chapter 3. We introduce the concept dimension and indicator hierarchy. Concept or construct, the main idea under investigation. Dimensions or component parts of the concept, and indicators or observable and measurable manifestations. For example, the concept is interagency interoperability. The dimensions are doctrine compatibility, communication systems, and joint procedures. The indicators are presence of harmonized SOPs, standard operating systems, or procedures, communication uptime percentage, and joint exercise frequency. This three-level structure prevents the common rejection reason. Construct lacks indicators. Without indicators, constructs remain abstract. For instance, saying readiness is inadequate is meaningless unless readiness is broken down into measurable dimensions such as equipment availability, personnel certification, and deployment speed. In PCG context, operationalization ensures research outputs can inform action. If coastal patrol effectiveness is studied, measurable indicators, patrol coverage percent, incidence response rate, deterrence outcomes must all be specified. We need to signal here a major shift in presentation. Up to this point, the framework has structured questions and literature. Now it begins converting constructs into measurable, analyzable evidence. And yes, you do not just think of it when you're already here. Even in your design phase, when you're trying to identify concepts or constructs as well as dimensions, you need to already be able to identify all of those properly. And that will play a very important role in the long run. So we need to define operationalization as the heart of research credibility. It emphasizes that abstract maritime constructs must be converted into collectible and analyzable evidence. Without this conversion, research remains theoretical and cannot inform operational decisions. So we need to formalize a three-level structure, concept or construct, the main idea under investigation, dimensions, the component parts that define the concept, and indicators, observable and measurable manifestations of each dimension. For example, if the construct is interagency interoperability, it cannot remain a broad concept. It must be broken into dimensions such as doctrine compatibility, communication system, and joint procedures. Each dimension must then have measurable indicators such as presence of harmonized SOPs, communications uptime percentage, or number of joint exercises conducted annually. In the Philippine Coast Guard context, this prevents vague claims. A study stating coastal patrol effectiveness is insufficient must specify what effectiveness consists of, like coverage frequency, interdiction rate, response time, or deterrence outcomes. These underscores that operationalization is what protects researchers from the common rejection. Construct lacks indicators. It ensures that every concept in the SOP and RRL is measurable or describable in the field. Let's look at operationalization in practice to give you an idea about what is happening. So this is a work example demonstrating concept dimension indicator alignment. Using interagency interoperability as a construct, the slide presents a matrix breakdown where dimension 1 is doctrine compatibility, indicators the existence of harmonized maritime SOP here is not statement of the problem, but standard operating procedures. Um, but there's a problem with this example because there needs to have at least two indicators for every dimensions. One indicator is not enough. No, dimension 2, if you look at it, there are two indicators there, radio communication uptime and frequency of communication protocol failures. And dimension 3 is joint procedures. And again, there are two indicators there. The example demonstrates granularity. Each indicator is tied to a specific evidence source. This is crucial for PCG research because operational data often exists in logs, training records, incident reports, and databases, but must be intentionally mapped to constructs. For instance, in evaluating SAR performance, response time data may come from operation logs, survivor condition data from medical reports, and even coordination quality from crew surveys. We need to reinforce that defensible research requires precision at the indicator level. Please take note that there are 6 alignment rules that you need to pay attention to, and these 6 rules are actually non-negotiable. So we outline 6 alignment rules governing the entire research architecture. SOP, RRL, so every statement of the problem construct must appear as an RRL theme. No orphan SOPs or specific statements of the problem. The theme link sentence. Every RRL theme must conclude with a link sentence explicitly tying it to the specific statements of the problem. Construct to dimensions. Every construct must be broken into component dimensions. Dimension indicators. Every dimension must have observable, experientiable, and measurable or describable indicators. Indicators to evidence. Indicators must correspond to actual data sources like logs, surveys, AARs, or documents. And method consistency. The research method, quantitative, qualitative, or mixed, must match the type of indicators used. These rules form a chain. Breaking any link undermines the study's structural integrity. For example, if a PCG study on cybersecurity readiness proposes survey-based indicators, but claims to use purely quantitative log analysis, method inconsistency arises. Similarly, the specific statement of the problem 2 investigates interoperability gaps, but no RRL theme addresses interoperability frameworks. The alignment chain is broken. Now we need to formalize the doctrine that alignment is not optional. It is enforced at every structural level. So let us visualize the alignment chain. So look at this one. So the statement of the problem, the key construct, and then the RRL theme, 2 dimensions, 2 indicators for every dimension. Take note of this one. So the diagram shows an alignment hierarchy, SOP, key constructs, RL themes, dimensions, indicators, evidence source, method type. This visualization reinforces that research credibility depends on traceability from the broadest element to the most granular. In the PCG context, this resembles an operational command structure. The general statement defines the mission objective. Specific statements of the problem acts as operational tasks. RRL themes provide doctrinal grounding. Dimensions represents functional components. Indicators serve as measurable performance metrics. Evidence sources provides operational data, and methods define how that data will be analyzed. For example, in studying maritime communications reliability, SOP1 would ask what is the level of communications reliability. The construct there is communications reliability, and the RRL theme involves defining maritime communications reliability. The dimension for communications reliability are infrastructure stability and protocol compliance.